In 2013, the Christian rock band Ghost Ship released their hit, Where Were You? This song is probably one of my favorite worship songs ever. This song amazes me more than most other songs in this genre. And the reason is how Ghost Ship uses music to help shift the voice from man to God. Where Were You closely resembles the book of Job in the Bible. If you are unfamiliar with that story, I will sum it up pretty quickly. Basically, Job is this wealthy, almost perfect man. He has a big family and does whatever he can to please God. God then boasts about Job to Satan, saying how Job's love for God cannot be shaken. Then Satan said, bet, and offered to try to test Job's loyalness. And God was like, bet. So long story short, Satan went down and killed his livestock, servants, and gave Job disease and pain. This was a poor explanation, but it was just to get everyone on the same page for this song. Ghost Ship's song, Where Were You, acts in a relatively same format, where the first part of the song is with Job asking questions, and the rest of the song is God's response to Job's questions. And just by listening and looking at the lyrics, it's really easy to tell when God starts speaking. But Ghost Ship does something a little more subtle that most people don't realize, and I love it. Let me explain it to you. And if you're not familiar with any music notes and theory, do not worry, I'll explain everything. In the song, Job asks these questions in a continuous and similar pattern of a melody. I'll play the melody on piano for you, but I can't put the song in my video because of copyright issues with YouTube. But anyways, here's the melody. The song is in G major, and the chord consists of the notes G, B, and D, the 1, 3, 5 of that chord. So when the melody plays these notes, it tends to sound good. So what about these notes that make his melody so human? As we look more into the melody, Job moves down from the note B to A, which is a major second interval, which is the distance between two notes. And according to this book, melodic musical interval occurrence in perceived emotions in classical and serial music, the major second is considered dissonant, which means full of tension. And the major second is also described as a passing note, having tension trying to go down to the tonic, which in this case is G in the G major chord. And from the sound of those two notes together, it can easily be agreed upon that this book is probably right. So when you put an A over a G major chord, where does it want to go? Down to resolve back to G. But in Job's melody that he sings, it doesn't happen. Why? Because Job is full of tension. He wants to know the answers of all the bad things that are happening to him, but he can't find any. Asking God is his longing. God is the closest to an answer he can find. So besides the lyrics, how do we know when God responds? Let's do the same thing we did with Job and look at God's melody. It can be seen that God's melody is relatively similar to Job's melody rhythmically, but God's response is in a higher pitch. It's modulated up, which can be represented that God is higher than us, or like higher than Job. But we can look more in depth, because there's more to this. It is seen that the melody starts on the note D, which relative to the G major triad is the fifth note of the chord. And with using the book that we used earlier, we see that a perfect fifth interval is considered pure resolution, or perfect consonance. This shows that God is perfect. God is vast, and God is above us. As we move forward with the melody, we see that the D goes to the B, which is a minor third interval. And from that lovely book from before, it says that the minor third has imperfect consonance, which basically means it sounds good, but there's something a little off. And one of the definitions is that it's concord, but there's a depression of the natural third with stoic acceptance and tragedy. So this minor third is way more stable than the major second, but there's still this tension, this slight tension between the two. And this minor third can represent the distraught that God had towards Job when Job was questioning God's power and God's plan towards him. Even though the same man is singing throughout the whole song, we can tell when the perspective of Job switches to the perspective of God, not just through the lyrics, but through the tone shift of the music. This technique in singing is not foreign to Western culture of music. This strategy of one person depicting multiple characters through song has been with us for centuries. One of the biggest classical music examples I could think of is a composition written by Franz Schubert in 1732 called Der Erlkönig, or Elf King. This poem describes the death of a child by a supernatural being as the son's father takes him home on a horse. This poem is sung by one person, but Franz Schubert helps the audience understand which of the three characters are talking by organizing each character in a particular range of the voice. The father is in the low register to represent age and maturity, the child is in the upper register to sound like a young boy, and the elf is in the middle register, but in a minor key to sound more eerie and out of place. Another YouTuber called Sideways does more of an analysis on this tune, and I'll give a link to the description below. A more modern and familiar example of a person depicting multiple characters with one voice is stand-up comedians such as Robin Williams. I'm not saying that Ghost Ship got the idea to write a song about God and Job through a fantasy poem in the 1700s. What I'm saying is that Ghost Ship was smart enough to use classical strategies to depict God and Job. That is why this song amazes me like no other contemporary Christian music has. I'm not saying other artists in this genre are bad at all, because I love them, but the creativity of Ghost Ship used to tell a story is remarkable.